public of Auckland in the CBD for this disruption that's occurred over the last couple of days and for the ongoing disruption probably over the next couple of days. But we do appreciate their cooperation in that event. Our situation at the moment with this fire is that I need to stress it's still an active fire. So whilst people may not be able to see the smoke and the flames that they've seen over the last couple of days, it's still an active fire, albeit we're moving into a recovery phase, which involves crews working actively to locate and extinguish hotspots in the roof structure of the building, and also any fire that is in the interior of the building. That recovery phase is likely to continue overnight, possibly into the next day. What it is involving though is we are actively looking to reduce resourcing on the incident ground, which means that we're able to reduce the cordons that are causing some of that restriction and angst for the public and for the businesses. That said, it's likely we will continue with a cordon around the immediate building, that is Nelson Street, Wellesley Street, and most definitely Hobson Street. Also need to stress, public shouldn't be alarmed if they see a flare-up. So by a flare-up, it's likely to be flames and smoke. We had one about an hour ago. We expect that to continue, but we are dealing now with a controlled fire, and we're comfortable that we're able to control that, any flare-ups that are occurring. And in that process, we're still utilising aerial appliances. We have sufficient aerial appliances on the scene. We're also using cranes that have been supplied by Fletcher Construction. So those cranes are enabling us to get fire crews in a platform above the fire or above the roof. So throughout this operation we have prevented active firefighting on the roof, and that continues. But of course we can achieve that objective using firefighters on man cages or platforms suspended by cranes. Today's activities primarily have been around moving from what we term as active firefighting operations into recovery phase. But I stress that recovery phase does still involve actual live firefighting. But the recovery phase that Fens and Fletchers are partnering in is designed to take us over the next few days, where we reach total extinguishment, where the investigation phase of the incident can well and truly kick in, and we can bring this scene and this environment back to normal. That's about it from me from my intro. So.
No, we're just going to go to Nick and then we'll go to
Afternoon everyone, my name is Nick Viger. I'm the Safe Swim Program Manager for Auckland Council. Can I start by saying that Fire Emergency New Zealand are working very hard to resolve a very complex situation, so we're doing our very best to give them all the support they need. The main issue we have that we're dealing with at the moment is a significant amount of water from the firefighting efforts in the basement of the convention centre. That volume of water is currently estimated to be around 8 million litres. It's, as I said, from the firefighting efforts. We don't understand the level of contamination of that water at the moment, although we will have water quality results on that, back on that later this afternoon. We have an urgent need, or Fire Emergency New Zealand have an urgent need to get that water out of the basement. So currently we are pumping that water out of the basement into the stormwater network. That will be discharging from the stormwater network around the viaduct basin around Beaumont Street. We've currently, for that reason, because it's an unknown hazard, we've put up a hazard alert on the nearest site on Safe Swim, which is St Mary's Bay, so that people have some awareness that there may be some sort of water quality issue that they need to be aware of. The key thing is that we're looking at this afternoon is whether we can get that water into the wastewater network rather than the stormwater network. Obviously it's preferable to send it there, but the question we need to answer is whether in fact it's safe from the perspective of the water care network. Ultimately that water will end up at the Mangere wastewater treatment plant, and so whether or not we can pump that over to the wastewater network will depend on the outcome of the water quality testing that we'll get back later this afternoon. And that's all from me.
Sure. So primarily that's the building is under construction, as you appreciate. So it resembles a construction scene. So apart from water being on the floor from the firefighting operations, which is draining into the basement, the building's got construction materials, machinery, construction huts, and various components of the building that are still under construction.
Is it at a stage now? I know it's been fairly dangerous to go inside the building up until maybe recently, so are firefighters now working internally as well?
Your firefighters have been working inside the building for the past 24 hours.
And we understand you were engineers in here today to have a look at the structural integrity. What did they tell you?
Yeah, there was a building assessment which involved the Fletchers and Becker engineers, accompanied by firefighters, just having a look through the building to get an appreciation of what's occurred.
What was the take from the engineers?
I don't know, I haven't spoken to them since. Clearly, from my own observations, the building structurally sound. There are no issues in that context. And the roof, primarily, the roof construction hasn't collapsed. What we've had is the exterior cladding caving in, which has been the main fire source.
Is there any damage on any of the floors at all? We've heard that the first couple of floors are actually quite close to being completed before the fire.
Water damage, and some of the construction materials have caught alight, and they have been extinguished by firefighters in the building, conducting interior operations. Yeah, the crane operations are wind dependent, and I understand they did stop earlier on today, and that function will be continuing as wind permits. That's becoming a major component of our operational tactics.
Anyone else have questions for Murray?
Give us a bit more of an idea on when some of these roads are going to be opening, like the next 2 days.
Sure. So as I said earlier, we're actively looking at our resourcing on the incident ground. This was a major incident in anyone's language, with in excess of 100 personnel, up to 35 appliances here. Now we're down to probably under 20 appliances. That includes the aerials that we have in attendance, and that's enabling us to reduce the cordons. So reducing the cordons may mean opening up lanes, but we will retain the ability to relocate cranes. So currently the cranes are in Hobson Street. If we want to operate them out of Nelson Street, that's what we'll do. So we won't be opening those roads up fully, but we're working hard to open up lanes.
When do you think those lanes will be reopened?
We're working actively on that now.
By tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll be working with Auckland Transport on that, but until we can actually say you can open that road, obviously they're not going to, and that's being worked on as we speak.
We've been in contact with the Professional Firefighters Union with the lack of a preventive maintenance program for those
I don't know whether we have super firefighters, but if anybody could have put out that fire in an hour, bring them on board.
Are you able to reduce the amount of water that's being used now that there are less appliances needed? Are they able to assist pumping water out of the car park?
So the water pumping operations out of the basement is largely being coordinated with Fletcher's. We're assisting with them, but we're using outside pumps. It's not suitable for our pumps to go into that building. So portable pumps being brought in, large-scale portable pumps. There's one operating now, and tomorrow that's being ramped up significantly. So today we've significantly reduced the amount of water that would be entering the building. So that flare up about an hour or so ago occurred in the north eastern section of the roof off Hobson Street. It was a small flare up, but you know there was significant volumes of smoke and a bit of flame that broke through the roof. And we had aerial appliances in position to quickly quell that. Yeah, that's why I said earlier that the public should not be concerned if we have outbreaks like that. We actually expect that to occur, and we will deal with them as they occur, because there's still large sections of the roof that, although damaged, aren't, you know, all the combustibles haven't been consumed.
Regarding the flooding, can you give us an idea of how deep it is?
I'm told it's somewhere in the region of about 1.5 meters in depth. The key part of that, and one of the reasons we're pumping out at the moment, is that there's a number of cars in the car park, and so in fact to let the water get up to a high level is going to increase the risk of contamination. So part of the reason we've jumped in to pump it out immediately is just to reduce and manage that risk.
Do you have an idea of how many cars are affected in that bottom level?
No, I think it's somewhere in the region of 100 cars, but I don't have an exact figure.
Has it gone up into the second level yet?
Not to my knowledge. No.
And just to confirm, it's the Sky City car park right there, is it?
No.
It's the convention centre car park. Yep.
And what are the challenges moving the water between stormwater and wastewater?
Yep. So at the moment, as I said, we're looking into a number of options to see if we can get that over into the wastewater network. If that is the case, we will look to pump it preferably directly to the wastewater network, not going via the stormwater network at all. If we have to drop it in the stormwater network and then pump it over to the wastewater, we'll do that.
What are the risks associated with this volume of water?
It's not the volume of water that's the issue, obviously, it's the level of contamination. Absolutely there's a risk, and we wouldn't be doing it if there wasn't a hazardous situation that we're trying to manage. What are the risks in terms of water quality? Look, logic tells us we're likely to have it contaminated with combustion products. We've had a fire, so there's a number of toxic compounds that can be associated with that. They can potentially have human health impacts. They can potentially have ecological impacts. We're very aware of that. As I said, we don't take it lightly to pump it out into the environment, and as soon as we can stop pumping to the environment, we will.
Are there any concerns what the water usage is going to mean for like Auckland summer because water levels were already below average?
Not aware of the figures on our dam levels at the moment, I'm afraid. Yes, if we can. It's subject to the level of contamination. So broadly speaking, the risk to Watercare's network is that at Mangere, where this water will end up, they have biological reactors. If we have toxic compounds in there, we're going to kill their biological reactors, and obviously we can't do that. So on the basis of the water quality results we get back later in the day, Watercare will do their calculations around how much they think they can accept without effects on their network or their plant, and we'll endeavour to put that much water into the network. There are also some hydraulic constraints in terms of we can't put so much water in that we're causing overflows from the wastewater network, obviously. When we have results, we'll share them with you. So the discharge is definitely to the stormwater network at the moment. It is discharging. So from where it's going into the network, it discharges, broadly speaking, in the Viaduct Basin area. That is happening currently. We have taken water quality samples both where we're discharging into the network and where it's discharging out, and we're getting results on all of those. Okay, so the first round of results, which is really the results which tell us whether we can put it into the Watercare network, we'll have those back later on today. The more sophisticated results we really want to understand are the ecotoxicology results. So they're the results which tell us whether there's an impact on ecology and biological systems. Those results, those tests are also underway, but the results of those won't be known for roughly 3 days. Presently, at the moment, the specific compounds we're testing for are things like volatile organic compounds, combustion products generally, hydrocarbons obviously, so a range of hydrocarbon compounds, combustion product compounds. The key thing is the ecotoxicology results, which take longer. They look at the impact on the biological systems rather than the degree of contamination. The worst case for pumping it into the stormwater. The worst case is that there's some sort of impact on ecology, and obviously that's something that we can't manage presently with what we're having to do. We feel we can manage the impact in terms of human contact, or at least that's why we've put up a warning on Safe Swim. So we just have to live with that presently. But obviously, we'll do everything we can to manage that and minimise it. Yeah, on a range of biological organisms, typically algae and shellfish. Yeah. Look, the results of that, the impacts of that could potentially persist for a while, but at the moment we really just don't know the numbers on whether that's likely or not. Not to my knowledge, no. Thanks.
Can I just one more question? Has there been any other fire staff treated this afternoon?
So since this morning, we haven't treated anyone else or transported anyone else. So. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Part of our commitment to reducing our emissions was going to be a terrible thing for this country, and of course now that we've done it, now that we've announced a start, that will make it that little bit easier for other countries to make a start as well. My basic feeling on it is that the target itself, although it's low, the target itself isn't the most important thing. The process is the most important thing. And I think there's two aspects to that. One of them is that we are including agriculture and therefore we can build on that. And the second one is that we're doing it through democratic institutions. There's no command economy going on. It is by a process of negotiation. It's a process of having everybody in the tent talking it through. And those things mean that the way in which we approach climate change will be a little bit more robust. And I think that's so important.
What do you make of what to start with? Extinction Rebellion is in the news, some pretty vocal and visible protests. What do you make of these and I suppose the student strike movement as well?
I think those movements, Extinction Rebellion and the student strikes, are wholly commendable, remarkable phenomena of our time. I think the idea that Parliament, that a government with the Green Party in it is going to lead us to salvation on climate change is nonsense. And I think that's one of the things about the announcement today. It's great that it's happened, but it's been able to happen because there is enormous social pressure for it to happen. And we've seen that this year with those enormous demonstrations organised by students, the student strike movement. And we are now seeing it with Extinction Rebellion as well, where they are non-violent but pretty determined, gluing their hands to plate glass windows and so on, to disrupt business as usual and make us rethink our commitments. And we won't